major public policy issues and influences public policy through education. The League does not support nor oppose candidates for public office and does not support a particular political party. At tonight's forum, we will hear from the Republican candidates running for the office of county executive. All Republican candidates for that office whose names will appear on the primary ballot were invited to participate. Their materials will be available at the end of the program on tables in the back of the auditorium. Just a few housekeeping details before we begin. Restrooms are on the left and right as you exit the auditorium. And as a requirement for using this auditorium, we need to alert you to please look for the exit signs located in the front and back of the auditorium. In the event of a building emergency, we would all move quickly and calmly to the exits and promptly leave the building. League representatives wearing badges would direct you out of the building if this were necessary. We ask that you silence your cell phones as a matter of courtesy. And please note that no flash photography or unauthorized videotaping is allowed. We follow FCC guidelines with regard to that, and they do not allow any editing or broadcasting of anything other than entire candidate forums. All of those guidelines for tonight are on the program that you have. Please refrain from holding up signs or banners or interrupting candidates while they are speaking. And we ask that you hold applause until the end of the program. After the formal program, candidates will be available at the back of the auditorium to meet with you and answer further questions. We all need to be out of here by 9 o'clock, so we'll keep an eye on that. I now have the real pleasure of introducing our moderator for tonight's forum, Kim Fabian. Kim is a senior vice president at Junior Achievement of Central Maryland, a nonprofit organization that empowers more than 46,000 youth each year to be career-ready, financially responsible citizens. A published author, Kim has appeared on radio, television, and print outlets across the country. She received her bachelor degree from Towson University, where she currently serves on their foundation board. She's also President Emeritus of the Towson University Alumni Association Board. Please let's welcome Kim.
Thank you so much, and good evening and welcome again to the League of Women Voters Baltimore County Executive Candidates Forum. Tonight we will hear from the Republican candidates Pat Mcdonough and Al Redmer. The county executive is the chief administrative officer for Baltimore County, who provides direction to all county departments and proposes plans, programs, budgets, policies, and legislation to the county council. The format for tonight's forum allows each candidate to make a 2-minute opening statement as well as a 2-minute closing statement after the Q&A period. Just before the forum began, candidates drew numbers to determine the order of making opening statements. Based on that drawing, Mr. Mcdonough will go first, followed by Mr. Redmer. When the Q&A portion of the program is completed, the closing statements will be made in reverse order, and as we go through the questions and answers, we will alternate the candidate who responds first. A few other words about the structure and format of this evening. After the opening statements, each of the candidates will have the opportunity to respond to questions that I ask. I will begin with questions submitted by the League of Women Voters, followed by questions submitted by the audience. For the Q&A portion of the forum, only audience questions submitted in writing will be allowed. Please write down your questions on the index cards found in your programs, write legibly, and limit your questions to 1 or 2 per card. You can receive additional index cards from the League representatives who are walking around this evening. Please ask questions that all candidates will be able to address. When you have finished writing your questions, pass your index cards to the end of the row, and they will be collected by League representatives. Questions will be screened by league members for clarity, brevity, appropriateness, and duplication. Questions must deal with the responsibilities of the county executive and should not be personal. Due to time constraints, it may not be possible to field all questions this evening. Candidates will have a strict 2 minutes to respond to the questions. Time limits will be strictly enforced. There is a timekeeper in front with time cards visible to the candidates indicating the time remaining. Green will indicate 1 minute left, yellow means 30 seconds left, and red means stop, at which time a bell will sound and the speaker must stop speaking within 10 seconds. I would now like to introduce the Republican candidates. Pat Mcdonough has been a member of the Maryland House of Delegates 7th Legislative District for 16 years and is a member of the Health and Government Operations Committee and Joint Committee on Veterans Affairs. He is also the host and producer of the Pat Mcdonough radio show on WCBN 680 AM, as well as a public affairs commentator for Fox Morning News, executive producer and host of the Pat Mcdonough Report on WNUV-TV, and a small business owner specializing in media communications. Al Redmer has more than 45 years of experience serving his community, from his days as a volunteer firefighter to serving as the president of the Perry Hall Improvement Association, to representing District 8 in the House of Delegates, and serving as Maryland Insurance Commissioner under 2 governors. In addition, he has experience in the private sector, running both large companies and small businesses, and has launched 2 successful insurance companies in Baltimore County. We will now have a 2-minute opening statement from each of the candidates. Based on the drawing, we will hear from Mr. Mcdonough first. Mr. Mcdonough, take it away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. We are having so many of these candidate debates. I think there's 6 or 7 this week. I'm suggesting that we get a van and all travel together and go to these different debates. But I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this debate, the first one for the Republicans. So I want to start out by saying we're going to have a lot of time here to discuss different issues. But Al, I got to ask you some questions. First of all, you got to start playing fair in this campaign. I'm going to tell you why. You keep your job as the Maryland State Insurance Commissioner, which I don't think is fair to the people of this state, while you're running for candidate to become the county executive. The people of this state do not need a part-time insurance commissioner. Secondly, the taxpayers of this county and the state are paying you $160,000 a year. You're kind of running on the taxpayers' money for county executive. But the worst part about this is, I'm pretty sure and I feel this is a conflict of interest. Everybody in this room has insurance coverage. Every business and individual in this state, or at least most of them, have insurance coverage, and you are asking them for votes and money while you are their chief regulator. And I don't think that's right. I think you should vacate your job. After all, I gave up a safe seat in the House of Delegates, and through your tactics, I gave up a talk radio show. But to be fair about it, I guess you have some help, because you do have a deputy commissioner. But oh, wait a minute, he's your campaign manager. So who is running the show? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So Al, I hope at some point in time, you will become a real serious candidate or a real serious Maryland Insurance Commissioner. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Mcdonough, and now Mr. Redmer will make his opening statements.
That's Pat being Pat. Likes to make stuff up. Go to the Maryland Insurance Administration website. The Deputy Insurance Commissioner is Nancy Groden. She's been deputy since I've been there and has always been. My campaign director is a full-time director. He's not on the state payroll at all. But with that, I would like to thank the League for inviting us. We'd like to thank you for attending and thank Kim for being the moderator/referee. My campaign is a natural extension of work that I've been doing for 40 years. I'm a lifelong Republican, a lifelong resident of Baltimore County. I have 2 sons and a daughter. I have 2 stepchildren, and I have 7 grandchildren. Now, to let you know where my maturity level is, my grandchildren refer to me as Pop Pop Noodlehead. That's where my maturity level is. I began community service as a 15-year-old umpire for the Perry Hall Rec House. I was not very good. I served my church council. I served 8 years from age 26 to 34 as the president of the Perry Hall Improvement Association. As mentioned, I served 13 years in the House of Delegates. My last 2, I was the House Minority Leader, where I led the Republican caucus. I'm now in my 2nd stint as Insurance Commissioner, where I lead an organization of 240 employees and a $32 million budget. If elected, I would have more executive level experience than any county executive, not only the folks that are running, but more than any county executive probably in the last couple of decades. And I look forward to explaining how that executive level leadership experience will best serve you, the citizens of Baltimore County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Redmer. Thank you very much to both candidates. And now we will begin the question and answer portion of the forum. To keep us on track, we do remind you again to please hold your applause until the end of the formal program when all candidates have completed their closing statements. Now I will ask a few questions presented by the League, followed by some questions that audience members have already submitted. Mr. Mcdonough, you will be answering the first question first. How does your experience prepare you for the duties of this office?
I think the most important, is this thing working?
No.
I got it. Do I go up there?
Press the button.
Let me sit here or sit here? Okay. I think the most important characteristic that a candidate for Baltimore County executive should have in this particular era with the challenges facing this county are 3 things. Number 1, independence. Number 2, judgment. And number 3, courage. I'll give you some examples. Independence. I have never been a part of the machine. I have never been part of the special interest. And Baltimore County is governed by a political machine. It's done a good job covering up, but nevertheless it has this power over government. Why do you think Verletta White was just appointed as the permanent superintendent? Because of her qualifications or because of her ethics violations? No, it was because of her power within the system. The second part of it is, as I said, judgment. You have to have good judgment because you have to know what needs to be done. In my case, I think we need to do a lot of things to change what's happening in Baltimore County. The Section 8 problem is out of control. The heroin problem is out of control. The crime problem is up 30%. We need a candidate for county executive and a county executive that understands what needs to be done. The final thing is courage. It is one thing to say that this is the problem, but do you have the courage to stand up on Section 8? Do you have the courage to stand up and fight crime? Do you have the courage to stand up to the machine on education issues and get rid of Common Core and the STAT program to some degree where $200 million are being spent? That's part of what needs to be done as the county executive. Now, of course, I've had 16 years of multi-billion-dollar budgets that I've looked at in the Maryland General Asylum. I've also worked with the Baltimore County delegation on issues related to the county. So I think the most serious qualification is independence, judgment, and courage.
Once again, we ask you please hold your applause so we can proceed and get as many questions answered as possible. Thank you. Mr. Redmer?
Thank you. I agree with everything Pat said, and actually I agree with him more often than I don't. The difference is, if elected, I would have the executive level leadership experience to accomplish the deeds at hand. I have experience and know how to set and communicate the vision, create the right government culture, set expectations and accountability in an organization, and drive organizational results. When you go around the county, we have a lot of unmet needs. It's clear that there is no long-term plan in Baltimore County. and there's no multi-year budget. And I can tell you, this is executive leadership 101, where I will go around the county working collaboratively with the members of the council, whether they're Republican or Democrat, the legislators, Republican or Democrat, and all of those interested stakeholders out there. And in an open, transparent, and collaborative way, we will go around, we will identify all of the needs, we will quantify those needs, and we will prioritize those needs and create a long-term plan and a multi-year budget to satisfy those significant unmet needs in Baltimore County. Thank you.
Mr. Redmer, while you still have the mic, we'll switch the order of responding to the second question. What are your two highest priorities as county executive, and please explain?
Sure. Issue number one is crime and public safety. Issue number two is education, and everything else comes in third. It's important that we all realize the importance of crime and education and how it weaves its way throughout Baltimore County. I was at an event this morning, the Board of Realtors, and they were asking about property taxes, and you need to look at the impact of crime and education on property values. Property values equal the assessed value, which equals the tax revenue. It's critically important. We cannot fix any problem in Baltimore County until we get at crime and until we get at education. So let's talk about community policing. We have approximately the same number of police officers in Baltimore County, but they have been systematically removed from community policing by our county executive. He keeps creating these specialized units. The most recent example is the animal abuse unit. So he creates specialized units, pulls cops off of the street, off of community policing, and the numbers are down. And I'm running out of time, but with education, we need to fix the schools, and we need to bring discipline back into the school system. Thank you.
If you visit my website, Mcdonough.com, we have an excellent policy paper called Excellence in Education, very comprehensive. It's my number one issue. Number one, I will not support Coletta White as county executive. And I have nothing against her personally, but I am opposed to Common Core. She is a zealot for Common Core on steroids. I am opposed to the STAT program of computers and tablets in K through 6 for the children. That should be teacher-centric education. I want civics taught K through 12. I want drug awareness programs taught K through 12. I want an expansion of apprenticeships and job training programs in education. She is opposed to all of these things. To me, she is simply an extension of Dallas Stance, who I was instrumental in getting out of the system and getting convicted with my ethics charge 3 years ago. As far as crime is concerned, it's up 30%. You will never hear the words "stand down" from County Executive Mcdonough. You will never have a public building named after a drug dealer from Delegate Mcdonough. I will have zero tolerance. This will be a rule of law. There will be no sanctuary county. There will be no toleration of Mexican heroin, and that is what it is. It doesn't come from Switzerland. We will have the New York police system, which is called neighborhood factoring, the greatest police department in the United States. That will be my deployment system. I am the chief of police in Baltimore County. The county executive is the chief of police. And under my leadership, there will be zero tolerance. We will have police centers moved all around the county, from Dundalk to Arbutus, wherever we need strike forces. And the police will be in the neighborhoods. They will know everybody's name, they will know every business owner's name, and they will know when Bubba is in town and what he is up to. I will never permit this county, and this is the courage factor, to become Baltimore City. Never.
Next question, and Mr. Mcdonough, you will go first on this one. Under the employment category, what role, if any, should the county government play in encouraging economic development and job growth?
Well, it should play a major role. I'm not satisfied with the current Economic Development Department in Baltimore County or the Workforce Development Department. It has its better parts, but really it's nowhere near the goal level that we need. And I will appoint a comprehensive, rather large, talented Economic Development Commission. We will seek out not only to expand and grow our local businesses, we're not going to go after Amazon and give them $8.5 billion, but we are going to expand our local businesses. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to make Baltimore County the center of job training and apprenticeship. There are a need for 100,000 truck drivers in the United States, jobs that pay over $100,000 a year. They have the Truckers Academy that is looking for places, locations to open up. This is private business. We don't spend a dime. So we are going to bring in all kinds of apprenticeship programs and job training programs. And I'll tell you another thing. You know, not everybody goes to college. Our young people need to learn skills. I promise to build an arena in Baltimore County. Baltimore County needs an arena for conventions, for tourism, for events. The state fairgrounds is sold out. It's booked out. People want to come here. We will build an arena. The county executives have never built an arena because they have always deferred to Baltimore City. Don't harm Baltimore City. My slogan is put Baltimore County first. We need an arena. I will build it. I'm sorry, it may sound a little crude or rude. Baltimore County, I represent. I don't represent Baltimore City.
So, being a long-time businessman, economic development is an important issue for me. I'm going to go back to a theme that I mentioned earlier and add one more, and that is crime, education, and congestion. We've got one of the most congested footprints in the country, let alone in the state. And if we think that we can buy our way with financial incentives to getting large companies to move here, we're kidding ourselves. We have got to go after crime, improve education, and fix congestion as part of our economic development plan. Now, as it relates to economic development, there is no plan in Baltimore County. For a number of years before I became commissioner, I had a business. I served on the board of directors of the Chesapeake Gateway Chamber of Commerce, used to be Essex, Middle River, White Marsh. You might remember the big hoopla that we were going to get all these jobs because of BRAC, you know, the base realignment process. At the board level, we were frustrated that we weren't seeing jobs. We brought the folks from economic development in. There was no plan. There was no plan. We need a plan. So as county executive, I will be active and I will be engaged. As the insurance commissioner, you know, job creation is not part of the job. However, we have, by developing a plan and working the plan, we have added over 100 new carriers doing business in the state of Maryland that we had in 2015. Working collaboratively with the Economic Alliance and Department of Business and Economic Development. We identified a carrier that was looking to grow and expand. We got into the mix. They located those jobs in Maryland, 200. So by having a plan, executing the plan, you can move the needle with economic development. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We will now begin to look at the audience member cards for the Q&A. Mr. Redmer, you will go first in answering this question. We have a few in a row regarding education. What is your opinion of the performance of the current County Board of Education? And if it's unacceptable, what would you do to change it?
So part of the board, I believe, is doing a half-decent job, and the other part is not. As a matter of fact, my observations on some of the members of the board, not only are they making the wrong decisions, but I don't like the process. The process too often is not open, it's not transparent, and it is oftentimes confrontational. So the county executive does not appoint or control Engagement has never, as a member of the House of Delegates, I was in every school in my district multiple times a year. I interacted with the administration, the administrators, the teachers, and the parents, and also the students. We were very engaged. I knew in real time what was going on in the schools, and I will be that kind of county executive. I will be visible, I will be engaged, and I will be advocating for the teachers and the students of Baltimore County.
The school board has been the problem that I talked to you about earlier about the political powerhouse out in town, because it has been appointed by their governors. Now, that school board is the school board that appointed Dallas Stance. I mentioned to you earlier that I filed an ethics complaint against Dallas 3 years ago because of the money he was taking from Chicago, from the Soups Academy. I won that case. That case was cited as the case that the special prosecutor used to begin to investigate Dallas Stance. So Dallas Stance is gone today because of only one elected official in the entire state. This guy sitting right here. Now, what I'm going to do is appoint an executive education advisory commission. Traditionally, the county executives have not become involved in the education system. They have left it to some corrupt and misguided school boards. The school board today is better because now we're electing 7 of the members, 1 from each council district. I was the co-sponsor of that bill that permits you to vote for your school board member in November, and please vote for that. But my Education Advisory Commission will be the best and brightest talent of Baltimore County. And I will be involved, not like Al. Al wants to be disengaged or engaged, whatever it is. It's leadership. I will lead. I will lead against Common Core. I will lead against the STAT program. I will lead to bring civics. I will lead to bring drug awareness. I will appoint hundreds of people to these commissions and these study groups, and we will work together with the unity of the people of Baltimore County. I am not going to leave it to Verletta White. I'm not going to engage with Verletta White. I'm going to lead in Baltimore County because what Verletta White represents is not the best for the children of Baltimore County. I don't represent 112,000 children in the school system. I represent 230,000 children in Baltimore County. And we will work for private education, charter schools, apprenticeships, and job training. Education to me is a capital E, and that's the kind of leader I'm going to be.
Thank you, Dan. I have a follow-up question to the education category. How concerned are you about the rapid increase of the BCPS budget from $1 billion to almost $2 billion in less than 10 years? Yet the BCPS capital improvement plan is non-existent and has been for decades. Mr. Mcdonough?
Well, this gets right back to what I was talking about, the corruption and the lack of accountability with the general public, with the people. The people do not control. I'm telling you, this election is historic. It is change now or never. If we select the wrong candidate for county executive 4 years from now, it will be too late. I'm running because I believe I can fix it. I'll tell you the truth, if you were giving me the job 4 years from now, I wouldn't take it because it would be so bad you couldn't fix it. The budget is corrupt. The entire county budget is corrupt. Al talked earlier about long-term budget planning and that sort of thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, before you get into long-term planning, you have to take out the corruption in the budget. We have 1 or 2 people besides the county executive that are controlling the budget, and we don't even know how much money we have in the budget. I will not only have a total budget audit of the entire county, not only education, and I will mandate an annual education budget audit. I will have an investigation. I will bring in an outside source to investigate the Baltimore County budget because it is corrupt. We have more money than we think we have. We have the Baltimore Sun and others talking about increasing taxes. 8 years as your county executive, I will never increase taxes. My friend Al Redmer helped to contribute to a $386 million brand new state tax on insurance. He was one of the key architects. Al can't say he doesn't vote for taxes. He just created one that you will be getting out of your pocket. I have never, ever voted for a tax increase in 16 years.
being Pat, I couldn't create a tax even if I wanted to.
You helped design it.
I did not help design it.
Well, that's what the chairman of my committee said.
Please give the candidate the opportunity to respond.
The Board of Education budget is out of control, and we have the wrong priorities. We have spent millions and millions of dollars to give every kid a digital device, which too often is nothing more than an electronic babysitter. While at the same time, the county has failed to invest in basic infrastructure. We have crumbling buildings, facilities have not been maintained, no maintenance, no employee training, the list goes on and on and on. So there needs to be an top to bottom audit. On day one, we will create the Office of Inspector General. This is going to be an organization in the executive's office. It's going to go through each and every department of Baltimore County, including the Board of Education. We're going to look at every process, every contract, what we do, how we do it, and why we do it, so that we can look to streamline processes, eliminate inefficiency, and make government work better. I've been doing it for decades. I'll do it again as Baltimore County Executive.
Next question, Mr. Redmer. Under your administration, do you ever see reducing the size of county government?
Yes. I just mentioned the Office of Inspector General. There is so much waste and inefficiency, and everybody will tell you that. I'm going to give you one little example. One of my favorite stories: the Baltimore County Fire Department. They cut their own grass. In September, one of them had a gas can that was rusted, leaking gas. They requisitioned a new one. It came back denied. We don't have money in the budget. It's amazing you don't have money in the budget for a gas can. But more importantly, the requisition process. The requisition had to be in triplicate using carbon paper. 2018, Baltimore County is buying carbon paper by the box load. But it gets better. That requisition, the top page, had to go in an envelope, and the envelope was picked up by a courier and delivered to the supply place. 2018, we have a courier in Baltimore County. Now, there is good news. The good news is the courier was not on a horse. Again, I have been running organizations for decades, large and small. I know how to review the process, look at what we're doing, how we're doing it. With an Office of Inspector General, we will be able to eliminate waste and fraud. Thank you.
One of the big problems besides fraud is cronyism and corruption. There are a lot of people in Baltimore County government that have a job because they're related or they know somebody. The first thing the county executive must do is a county-wide investigation of the entire system for the possibility of a reorganization of county government. County government must be set up in such a way that it puts people first. There's no accountability. You take the trash can lid off, you get a $300 fine. You try to get an answer about your alley crack, you can't get a return phone call. You want to build a deck on your house, you can't do it. You can't get a permit. But somebody can go build a 10-story condominium in your neighborhood within a couple of months. It's corruption and cronyism, and you need courage as county executive to do something about it. Now, Al keeps talking about his executive skills as insurance commissioner. 78% increase in health care insurance in the past 4 years. Not very skillful, Al. That $386 million does exist. Go to my website. We will show you how Al Redmer, I'm on the health committee. It came out of the health committee. I voted against it. All the Republicans voted against it. The chairman of my health committee publicly thanked Al Redmer for helping. $386 million. That was the money that the federal government took away to try to get rid of Obamacare. Al put it into a state tax to promote Obamacare for 1 year, a Band-Aid, because it's an election year. We can prove that tax existed. During this campaign, we will prove that he was one of the architects behind it.
Next question, Mr. Mcdonough. The governor's veto of the construction bill was overridden. How will this affect construction projects in our county?
I think it was great. It's going to make construction in our county better than ever, because the bill that was overridden, that he vetoed, guaranteed for the first time in history, guaranteed a minimum of $400 million in construction funds for schools for the state of Maryland. That has never been done before. And it also guaranteed that the local county executive would have the authority on how to spend that money. That system where the governor and the comptroller other state has that. Now the Republicans think it's real great because Larry's governor, and I agree to some extent. But when O'Malley was governor and he had that system, what did he do? He withheld money from Baltimore County. He withheld money from Carroll County and Anne Arundel County because they were run by Republicans. Now we have a professional commission of 9 people, including the state school superintendent, and the governor appoints 5 of them. The governor used that as a political football because he wanted to promote his own personal power. But what matters more is that education is above politics. You can't be a candidate for county executive and say you voted against the Watt Commission and against that bill. That bill is good for county government and it's good for money. And what the heck is the comptroller doing controlling education money? He's the state tax man. He has no right to have his fingers in there, but under that corrupt system, he was in charge. And in the politics in Maryland, I will tell you right now, the comptroller will always be a Democrat in this state, and we always have that vote against us. The new system is professional, it's fair, and it's good for the counties.
So the Board of Public Works, whether you like them or whether they don't, they transact their business in an open, transparent forum that is full of reporters from beginning to end. Pat not only voted to override the veto, he was the only Republican in the state to vote to override the governor's veto that takes away transparency and accountability in the school construction process. Now think about this a little bit. The vote to override was to create, to provide $400 million with complete local control, with minimal state oversight of state dollars. That includes Baltimore City. How do we think that Baltimore City is going to spend that $400 million? So at the end of the day, open, transparent government under the light of day with reporters in the room is a good thing. Thank you.
Mr. Redmer, Baltimore County used to have very good roads. They have deteriorated. How will you improve them?
So that's a great point. First, let me say that I have been enthusiastically endorsed by Governor Hogan, and having a county executive that is a partner and supportive, as opposed to an adversarial county executive that we have seen, I think opens the door for state dollars that we have not seen before. But I mentioned roads previously. We cannot grow in Baltimore County unless we fix crime, education, and transportation. There's a lot of data that's available, and we need to go through the county and look at the smart investments that we can make, whether it's traffic signals, whether it is smart roads. In the county now, the county's getting ready to, not the county, but Comcast and Verizon, getting ready to lay new optics and cable around the county. We should be putting optics in today so that we can take advantage of the vehicles that are going to be around tomorrow in order to help alleviate some of the congestion problems.
You know, I'm surprised now how little you know about state government all this time you've been on the payroll. First of all, the $400 million was not for Baltimore City. It was for a minimum every single year of $400 million. It could be $500, it could be $600 million, but it was not for Baltimore City. Secondly, the fact that a reporter's in the room does not change the potential corruption. I'll give you an example. Let's say that Rashawn Baker, the Democrat, is elected governor next year, and I'm the county executive, and I crack down on illegal immigration, and I crack down on Sanctuary County, and I crack down on a lot of things they don't like on the Democrat side, and he's under the old system, and he says, I'm not going to give Baltimore County all the money it's asking for the schools because Pat Mcdonough is a racist, or I don't like what Pat Mcdonough is doing. Under the old system, that's how it worked. And by the way, Al, the commission, you don't know this, but state law says that the commission must operate in open ground. It cannot do private. So I'll let you know about that. As far as the roads are concerned, Baltimore City's getting all the money. Baltimore County is becoming, I don't know, a stepchild. I have told our legislators we have got to have a stronger delegation from Baltimore County. We can't always defer to Baltimore City. If I have to send my police into Baltimore County, you know what? I'm getting the check first. I'll tell you that right now, because Baltimore County comes first with me. And the fact of the matter is we've got to get more state money, we need to be more aggressive, and we need to work on building these roads. We can't do it with just county money. We need state money. I will be a county executive, and I will work. I have endorsed Governor Hogan. He may not be supporting me. Sometimes he makes mistakes. But I have endorsed and will support him. But it doesn't matter. I think the people of Baltimore County don't want the governor to select their county executive. I think the people of Baltimore County want to select their county executive.
If elected, what do you have planned to protect our delicate ecosystem, such as the Chesapeake Bay, by controlling pollution that litters our streets and goes into our watershed?
Should I tell them the story about the mastodon? No, we had a story about mastodons earlier. Well, first of all, the Bay is showing improvement, and that's wonderful and great. But you know, we have to have a balance in how we do these things. We have to have a situation where we don't go over the top, we don't go too far, we don't approach saving the Bay or saving the environment in an unrealistic manner. There are things to be considered. Jobs must be considered. The economy must be considered. I remember the rain tax. Do you remember the rain tax? Well, guess what? Do you remember the signs that said stop the rain tax all over Baltimore County with Pat Mcdonough? Pat Mcdonough fought that for 3 years. We would never have Trade Atlantic if it wasn't for me fighting and getting rid of that rain tax. Trade Atlantic could not be sold. Sparrows Point could not be sold because the rain tax was $400,000 a year. Nobody would buy it. But I fought for 3 years, and I finally worked with Governor Hogan, and I thank him for his support, and we got a bill passed that I co-sponsored that enabled the counties to decide whether they wanted the rain tax. I then lobbied our county council, and the county council unanimously voted to get rid of the rain tax. So that is an example of nonsense that hurts business, hurts private owners. But there again is what? Courage in leadership, willing to stand up when others will not, and right a wrong, and I'm very proud of that.
So, obviously the environment is important. The water is getting better. But we had a period of time in Baltimore County where the environmental protection folks were going crazy and attacking our marinas in eastern Baltimore County. Cost them thousands and thousands of dollars, put people out of work, and did so in a way that was not based on science. So everything that we do has to be based on science. But the other thing is, I think we need a complete evaluation of our development process in Baltimore County. We need to make sure that it makes sense and that it is adding jobs and not killing jobs. Thank you.
Mr. Redmer, do you think Red Maryland is a reputable news organization, and why?
Do I think Red Maryland is a reputable news organization, and why? I am not going to weigh in on whether any organization is reputable or not. They did a thoughtful review of our county executive race. They provided me an endorsement, which I was pleased to get and was thankful to have it.
I would tell you they are nothing more than smear artists, and they generally attack Republican conservatives, and I'll give you an example. They did a smear job on me. They sent out a letter that they even refused to sign. And I'll give you one example. They said my wife was a terrible person, and I was a terrible person, because during my congressional campaign, I gave her $6,000 in compensation. Now, this is a woman that worked 5,000 hours or more on this congressional campaign. That $6,000 amounted to $1.12 an hour. That's a real living wage. Now, that's the kind of smears that they will put out there. They don't put out the whole story, they exaggerate. While they're smearing my wife and endorsing Al Redmer, he's getting $160,000 a year from the taxpayers of Maryland to finance his campaign for Baltimore County Executive. But you will not see Red Maryland attack Al Redmer, no, because he's one of their bullies. But they are smear artists and dirt merchants. And there's been too much of this dirt, too much of this smear, too much of this below-the-belt politics in America, but right here in Baltimore County. And I'm telling you, if it doesn't stop soon, people are going to turn and say, enough is enough. Let's talk about issues.
Mr. Mcdonough, what is your plan for keeping our children safe in schools?
Very quickly, I wish I could tell you the whole story, but Obama put out a memo 4 years ago creating a new student conduct code. 99 school systems across the country, including the one in Florida where they had the terrible shooting, accepted it. Dallas Stance accepted it in Baltimore County. It still exists in Baltimore County. That terrible, confidential, they don't tell you anything, you can't get information. If your children have a problem, if there's bullying or there's something going on, you can't get any information, but there are no penalties, there are no consequences. That's how Obama operated, and that was the code. Baltimore County still has it. I asked Perletta White at a Baltimore County delegation meeting, do you still have the same code of conduct? I will not have that. There will be zero tolerance in Baltimore County. The student conduct code will be tough. You do something wrong, you will pay the penalty. There will be consequences. I will make sure that the children, the teachers, and the staff of Baltimore County will be safe. There will be armed law professionals in every school in Baltimore County. Right now they are in the middle schools and they are in the high schools. I will put them in all 108 elementary schools. The police will be on preemptive strikes areas around the schools, and I will utilize what is called TS, total security. My schools will be hardened, and I will get the money from the STAT program, which I will cut in half to build 3 new high schools, repair all the schools that are needed, and make all of our schools safe.
So first, let me say I have never been interviewed by Red Maryland. And when you talk about making stuff up, you're making a lot of stuff up yourself. The state is not funding my campaign, and I am just really, really glad my mother is not here to listen to all this. So, school safety. I went to a county roundtable. They did a little roundtable around the county to talk about discipline. And I went to that thing not as a candidate, just as a regular citizen, no badges, no nothing. And I went in with expectations that I was going to listen to a lot of liberal gobbledygook, and I was still unprepared for what I heard. There is no discipline in Baltimore County. They never uttered the words expectations, standards, or accountability. If little Jimmy beats up little Johnny, they're going to put them together and ask them how they felt about it and how they can make it better and those kinds of things. There is no discipline in Baltimore County, so school safety, I think, starts there. Secondly, I will support SROs in every school, elementary schools. If we need to add police, we will. We can use retired police officers. We can use sheriffs in the school system. And finally, as we build new schools and we renovate new schools, we need to build smart schools. We need to use all of the latest updated technology to make our schools safer. Thank you.
Mr. Redmer, the waterfront is being overdeveloped. How would you reduce the influence of developers?
So I don't know that the waterfront is necessarily being overdeveloped. I don't see that much new development on the waterfront. Whether it's on the waterfront or not, there should not be undue influence in the development process. So the development process is one of the things that needs to be changed. It is inefficient. It is ineffective, it's costly, it's burdensome, it's driving up the cost of housing in Baltimore County. So first, we need to focus on the comprehensive development plan, master plan. The local zoning issues should be in compliance with that, or we need to change the master plan. And we need to do a thoughtful review, make it more efficient, and increase the amount of community input into the development process.
Well, actually, I agree with that. On the waterfront development issue, it is not being developed, it's being overlooked. It's a great asset, but it's a bigger issue than that. It's tourism and promotion, community promotion in Baltimore County. It doesn't exist. Give you an example. The county has about $1 million a year that it can use for tourism, and guess what it does? It gives it to Baltimore City, gives it to the Waller's Art Gallery, gives it to the aquarium. County Executive Mcdonough, not one dime, not one penny goes to Baltimore City. It all comes to Baltimore County. I keep telling you, Baltimore County first. I'm the Baltimore County Executive. I have nothing to do with Baltimore City except to protect Baltimore County. We don't have any tourism. We should be taking care of that waterfront, 215 miles of waterfront. That should be our inner harbor. That should be a job generator. All of these people with boats that come from everywhere, that come down to our marinas, we should be taking care of that. There are great assets in Baltimore County. We don't use any of them. As I said before, I will build an arena in Baltimore County. That arena will bring this place to life. It'll move the hotels. It'll move the restaurants. What is the slogan of Baltimore County? Does anybody know? Raise your hand. We don't have a slogan, okay? I worked for William Donald Schaefer for 2 years when he was mayor. I was a young person, and let me tell you, that was an experience. But Donald Schaefer had a slogan every 5 minutes, and he told me one time, he said, you have got to promote the spirit of the city. He was talking about the city. We have got to promote the spirit of the county. It's an economic job development, tourism. We can do a lot. There's great things we can do in this county, and as your county executive, I will do them.
Thank you, candidate. Mr. Mcdonough, where do you stand on the North Point Government Center in Dundalk?
Well, this gets back to developers, this gets back to the special interests, it gets back to Kevin Kamenetz and his love affair with the Caves Valley people and all these insiders. The community will decide. Our slogan, we have a couple slogans. One is change now or never. Another one is put people first, because there's no accountability. The government center will be decided by the people of Dundalk and the community. They will decide. But we will do some private stuff there. They have a beautiful auditorium. You talk about tourism, you talk about livening things up. There's a beautiful auditorium. We can get Royal Farms to go in there, rebuild it, put their food in there, and have great entertainment and shows for the people of Dundalk. We can put some government centers in there for seniors and for medical attention. The people of Dundalk will decide what the people of Dundalk want. The people of Middle River will decide what the people of Middle River want. That's when you have an independent, courageous county executive who does not care what the Baltimore Sun calls him, does not care what the heavy hitters and the big money guys think, only cares about the people of Baltimore County. It is long overdue. It is time to get this done. We are at the crossroads in this county. If we do not do it in this election, I hate to tell you this, but we are in trouble.
I agree. It's got to come from the citizens, and it is another example of many around the county where you had Big Brother imposing themselves on the community in a way that was not open, was not transparent. It's got to come from the community up. Thank you.
The next question is a public health issue. Mr. Redmer, how would you direct Baltimore County to address neighborhood rat issues?
Neighborhood rat? So, you know, every day I drive through communities where I see living conditions that are allowed to exist, that are tolerated, that would not be allowed to exist, they would not be tolerated in other communities and in other zip codes. And rats are an example of that. So whether it's gang activity and crime, whether it's trash, or whether it's rats, we need to clean up Baltimore County. And part of that is customer service. You know, with no plan and no multi-year budget, customer service, employee morale is pathetic in Baltimore County. We need to improve that. So it needs to be all hands on deck and creating expectations, accountability, holding people accountable for the living conditions, but more importantly, the county has to get with it as well. So we need to clean up Baltimore County, whether it's trash, whether it's rats, whether it's midges, we need to clean up Baltimore County.
The rat problem is serious. No question about it. It's the first sign of decay. You know, we have neighborhoods in this county that now have boarded up housing. We have multi-million-dollar mansions in this county. As county executive, if I do not fix the boarded up houses and the Section 8 problems, in a few years we won't have the multi-million-dollar mansions. There is technology available now. They're using it in New Jersey on the rat problem. It's a new kind of system where the rats cannot breed. Sure, we kill them, then they can't breed, but also there's a new technology that makes sure they can't breed. This is put into the food and it's working very well. But we're going to have, remember the surge in Iraq, remember the surge? We're going to have the rat surge in Baltimore County. We are going to, and it's working. There are some independent local community citizens who are doing a great job right here in Middlesex and other areas. We are going to expand that surge all around the county and go after what needs to be done regarding the rats. We're going to take the problem serious. I mean, once again, this is where the county neglects to take serious a problem that people know is serious. But it gets back to another thing, the sustaining of the neighborhood foundation of the county. This is a county of neighborhoods. And if the neighborhoods begin to fail, Don Schaefer used to say this, the whole city's going to fail. And we saw it happen, right? So now in Baltimore County, I will never allow the neighborhoods of Baltimore County to fail. They will all succeed. We will work together. We will have a countywide, national council of neighborhoods every year working together to make sure all of the neighborhoods of Baltimore County are successful.
Mr. Mcdonough, our next question will also start with you. How will you handle the school construction issue in the county?
Well, first of all, we're going to build all 3 high schools. Secondly, we're going to repair all the schools that need to be repaired. One of the ways we can do it, as I mentioned to you earlier, the budget is corrupt. We're going to investigate the budget, straighten it out, make it honest. There is money in the budget. In addition to that, K through 6th grade, our young children are going to be taught by teachers, not machines, as Al said, babysitters. So we're going to save about $50 to $75 million there. There are also, once again, and I like to be a creative person, an innovative person. I want new ideas. I want ideas from you. I'm going to make this the best county in America, but I can't do it myself. I'm going to make you help me. I'm going to give you all jobs, but I'm not going to pay you. But you're going to work. And we're going to make this a great county. But the one thing that we are going to have to do is that we have that money. That money's available. We're going to build those high schools, but we're going to build them more quickly. In California, of all places, California, right? They have the new, what they call the prototype technology. where they can build high schools almost like cookie cutters, but they change the outside characterization and personality so they look different. Everybody wants their high school to look a little different, but they can build them 80% of the price that we're paying today. We will build all of these schools, and we will make sure that all of the schools that we are not building, that they are in good shape and taken care of. The money is there, I will build.
I agree, we can build the schools and improve facilities at the same time. We are overpaying for our school construction costs. I think we need to investigate creative financing ways. I believe we need to look at public-private partnerships where we can get private business to build these schools, lease them back. And again, we have to look at the expense side of the ledger. The Office of Inspector General, we're going to audit the books, ferret out that waste and inefficiency, and at the end of the day, hopefully working with a governor in the second term, we can increase state support for the school construction needs that we have.
The next topic is electability. Mr. Redmer, you will take this one first. Gentlemen, you are more alike than different, and I could support either of you, probably because I agree with you on most issues. But how do you appeal across the political spectrum to get elected in this very powerful democratic political machine?
Governor Hogan gave me an enthusiastic endorsement in September. When he did, I was the first non-elected Republican that he endorsed in the state. And I think he did that for a reason. He recognizes that Baltimore County was very important for him in 2014. It's going to be very important in 2018. I have a track record of success. I work collaboratively across the aisle when I need to. And winning elections is all about getting support from volunteers. It's about raising money, and it's about getting your message across. And finally, it's about background and experience. As I mentioned previously, there is no other candidate that has executive level experience. I've been doing it for decades, and I've got the background and the experience to not only lead, but to get elected.
I have won 4 consecutive elections with a record number of votes from Democrats in Democrat districts. The people that know you best tell you what they think about you. Here is the problem. The things that I mentioned tonight about Al, you can go to my website, they're very accurate. The Democrats are going to use his position on this $386 million tax. They're going to talk about Isabel, where he was highly criticized by so many people, including the county, and how he did not protect the victims, but he tried to help the insurance companies. It's all going to be used against Al. But there are 275,000 Democrats, 135,000 Republicans, and 75,000 independents in Baltimore County. Al's right about one thing, though. This election is not about Democrats and Republicans. I was over in Washington a couple of weeks ago with some political people, and they showed me the polls in Maryland. And Baltimore County is an anomaly. In Baltimore County, the voting is all about change. People don't care about North Korea. They care. They don't care that much about Trump or Hillary. What the people top priority care about in Baltimore County is change. They want change. They're afraid their county's becoming Baltimore City. They're afraid that crime is up. They're afraid of the sanctuary policies. 24 consecutive years of Democrat rule and that machine rule. When you have a change election, the people who are in power are ready to go out. When you Google change, Pat McDonough's picture pops up. And I'm telling you, by the time this campaign is over, by the time November comes around, the people of Baltimore County will know all the things I've told you tonight, plus more. They will know I am passionate, that I am sincere, that I am independent, that I love this county, and I have the courage to make a difference and make change. They will know it, and they will elect a new Baltimore County executive.
Mr. Mcdonough, you'll field this one first as well. Do you have any plans for making the Route 43 Eastern Avenue section a true business and transportation hub? If so, what are those plans?
Well, I helped to secure the money for Route 43, known as Crossroads. And originally, it was going to be all jobs, all business, manufacturing. We went through some rough times. That didn't develop. Now there's housing there. There are some success stories there. But there are a lot of empty warehouses there, okay? A lot of empty spaces. And I'm not happy with that. And I don't think the county has done enough work. It comes back once again to these special interests. You have the St. John Company controlling the entire parcel. And the St. John Company has all the empty storefronts and warehouses. I may put the arena there, I'm not sure. I may put some other creative things there. We have got to work harder on 43. What happened when they talked about Amazon and these alleged 50,000 jobs? What did the Baltimore County executive do? He said, put it in Baltimore City. Can you imagine County Executive Pat Mcdonough saying, put it in Baltimore City? I would rather die first. I would rather have Al's mother beat me first. But I will tell you, Pat Mcdonough will never do that. I will say, put it at Trade Point. Put it at Route 43. We need a fighter. We need someone who is ready to stand up for this county, who doesn't care what the Baltimore Sun has to say, who doesn't care what the special interests have to say. I've been that way my entire life, and I'm not going to change now. You need that kind of leader. You need William Donald Schaefer reinvented in Baltimore County.
Route 43 is a home run. We currently have over 5,000 jobs there, with thousands more in the pipeline. But Baltimore County has failed to tap the potential in eastern Baltimore County. When you think about it, when you look at what's going on Route 43 and what you have going on in Trade Point, Atlantic, there is incredible opportunity in eastern Baltimore County. Route 43 should be a transit-oriented community. When you look at the MARC station, should be an Amtrak station right there. When you look at Martin State Airport and the proximity to Interstate 95, these are tremendous assets in Baltimore County that are not being taken advantage of. I mentioned previously that the Chamber of Commerce dragged Baltimore County in because they failed to take advantage of BRAC, and that's because there was no plan, there was no plan, and there was no leadership from the county executive. The county executive, for the most part, has been disengaged in the economic development process. He has delegated most of the responsibility of governing in Baltimore County to the chief administrative officer, so as an active, engaged county executive from eastern Baltimore County, economic development, job growth will be job one.
Thank you, candidates. Mr. Redmer, the next question is related to bulk trash removal. Recently, someone left an old mattress in my back alley. I called the county and they told me they have not picked up the trash for the past 10 years. I had to pay a fine of I had to pay a fee of $50 to have it removed. Are you going to bring back trash removal?
We're going to bring back trash removal and customer service. I am absolutely passionate about customer service. It's probably my private sector business background. It's part of what I talked about earlier as far as we need to clean up Baltimore County. The folks that just dump on the side of the road is horrific, but it stays there. It doesn't get picked up. In Baltimore County, I live right next to a small, tiny park. It's about a mile drive back. And the county employees that go back to cut the grass, you could have bodies in the road and they don't see anything. We've got to create a culture of customer service. Everybody's got to get engaged, and bulk trash is just one small example of that.
This gets back to the entire philosophy that I talked about earlier of put people first. The communities have to have solid neighborhood organizations. In every neighborhood organization in the county, I will have a Citizens on Patrol. The Citizens on Patrol will not only work for law enforcement and public safety, they will work for environmental and issues like we're talking about with the bulk trash. We will have a strike force, always available and ready to go wherever there is a problem. And we can't let this get out of hand. It's just like what I said about the vacant boarded up houses and the millionaire mansions. If we do not take care of this stuff, our county is lost. It is a mess. It's everywhere. And it is out of control. You have a county executive who is owned and operated by the political machine. You know what's interesting about this? A lot of people in Baltimore County don't even know that there's a political machine, a bunch of special interests and insiders. When I say this, sometimes they say, what political machine? These guys have been clever. They have done a good job. And here's the difference. Baltimore County is a runaway train going off a bridge. Al and the other candidates, believe me, they're all competent, they're all qualified. But there's a difference between them and me. They want to slow that train down. I want to stop that train dead. I don't want it going any further. I will take on that machine. I will take on those special interests. I will have a code of conduct for county employees. If you do not do your job, you will have to find another job. But people come first with me, and that's the difference. There's a difference between me and the other candidates in a lot of ways, but that's the main difference.
And we have time for one more question. Mr. Mcdonough, you will field this first. How are you going to deal with illegal aliens in Baltimore County? Will you declare Baltimore County a sanctuary county?
First of all, Baltimore County is already a sanctuary county. Those documents were signed by Kevin Kamenetz 3 years ago. As county executive, I appoint 45 attorneys. I personally appoint them. My first day in office, they will put on my desk the elimination and the abolition of all sanctuary policies in Baltimore County, and I will sign it. Now, beyond that, I will work with Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, or whoever the Attorney General is, to create a county, federal, state strike task force. We do not have that. All of this heroin in Baltimore County, where do you think it comes from? Switzerland? It comes from an open amnesty policy in this country, where that wall does not exist. It comes here. I will crack down on MS-13 and the drug dealers. They are, I've been told by the command staff, 91 MS-13 gangbangers in Baltimore County. What are they doing here? I will find out where they are, who they are, and I will get them to hell in jail in the first 30 days, I guarantee you. Amen. People are going to say around this state, regardless of what the General Assembly and the liberals in this state want, you do not go to Baltimore County if you're an illegal immigrant, because that is a rule of law county. That is a constitutional county. That is not a sanctuary county. And the leader of that county means what he says.
I will eliminate sanctuary county status, and on day one, we will be communicating and collaborating. With ICE. If you're in the country illegally, if you commit a crime in Baltimore County and the feds want you, the feds are going to get you. I hate to go back, but I'll go back and say it again. This is all intertwined. It's directly related to increased crime, and it's directly related to deteriorating education in our school system. We need to eliminate it, and eliminate it right away. Thank you.
That will conclude our formal question and answer session. I want to thank the audience for creating such engaging questions and really bringing some wonderful issues to light, and for the candidates for keeping on track and maximizing the amount of questions we were able to answer. Now we will, in reverse order, hear the closing statements from each of the candidates. Mr. Redmer, you will go first. Please feel free to come up to the podium.
Thank you. So again, thank you for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to meet those of you that I met and had the opportunity to chat with you. I'm just going to speak briefly to the fact that I am not a part-time insurance commissioner, unless you think going from 60 to 70 hours to 40 to 50 hours is part-time. I've never done anything part-time. When I was a legislator, while I was a legislator during the session, I continued to manage my business, made most of the Little League games, and actually coached for a while, although not well. As insurance commissioner, I'm fully engaged in the management and operation of the organization, and I lead, as I mentioned, 240 employees and a $32 million budget. As I mentioned, if elected, I'm going to have more executive level experience. I know what it's like to run an organization. You know, Pat and I agree on most things. The difference is I know how to take a vision, create a plan, and execute it and actually get it done working collaboratively with all the stakeholders. Pat has not had that same level of experience, hasn't had that level of success. Doesn't work well with Democrats or Republicans. Ask them, not me. So I know what it's like to create the vision and the culture, set expectations, and get organizational results. We have a lot of unmet needs in Baltimore County. As I mentioned, there's no long-term plan, no multi-year budget. You can't do all of this in year one. It takes a thoughtful, deliberate process. People will tell you how they are going to govern. I've been governing that way for decades, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Mr. Mcdonough?
Well, once again, I've got Al's being Al. I've got to agree with him. He's right. There are some things with his executive skills that I have not accomplished. I have not accomplished a 78% increase in your health care rates in the past 4 years. I have not conspired with the Democrats to create a $386 million election year tax. He can deny it all he wants. He can say, I didn't have a vote. He was the guy that advised all the voters, okay? It's on my website. Everything is there, and it's all going to come out. I did not, like Al with his executive skills, vote to sell Blue Cross and Blue Shield years ago to a California company. Thank God I opposed it and others opposed it, and it didn't happen, and that company went bankrupt. Can you imagine Blue Cross and Blue Shield today? I don't have the executive skills that Al has when he voted for the deregulation of gas and electric, which I voted against. How are your gas and electric bills doing these days? Pretty good? How's that working out for you? So Al talks about these executive skills, but where were they when Isabel, Tropical Storm Isabel, destroyed these marinas and these people in Baltimore County, and the Baltimore Sun wrote critical articles about Al, and the county executive at that time had to get a special attorney to try to get Al away from his cozy friends in the insurance industry. And for some of you who are older, remember Senate Bill 509? Where Dutch Ruppersberger tried to confiscate and take control of private business in Baltimore County all along that harbor that Al was talking about, and Al voted for Senate Bill 509 along with Dutch Ruppersberger, and then it went to referendum, and Delegate Rick Impalaria, who was sitting right here, led the fight of citizens to defeat it on referendum. Yeah, you have executive skills, but they scare the hell out of me. If you run Baltimore County the way you have been in your executive skills, we're in big trouble. We're trying to change this county. We're trying to make this county the best county in America. We need a leader who has courage, a leader who has vision, a leader who will stand up to Democrats, Republicans, cronies, and the special interests. And I pledge to you, I will do that.
And that's Pat being Pat.
Thank you again to the candidates, and thank you to all of you for an engaging and informative discussion tonight. Next, I'd like to welcome Jen back from the League of Women Voters with some final remarks.
First of all, a big thank you to our moderator, Kim Fabian. Let's show her our thanks. Thank you, Kim. Thank you to all of our candidates for participating in the forum and serving as an example of civil discourse. You have given us all, you have given us all a great deal to think about as we vote in the primary elections. I would also like to thank our forum committee for arranging this event, and special thanks to Stemmers Run Middle School for allowing us to use this space. Thanks go to you, our audience, for coming tonight and participating, and for submitting such thoughtful questions. Please look for hard copies of the League's voters' guides, which will be available soon at branches of the Baltimore County Public Library, senior centers, Head Start centers, and college campuses. Vote411.org is our online version of the voters' guides, and it's your one-stop shopping site for everything about your local ballot, candidates' positions, polling places, and more. Primary election day is June 26th, and early voting for primaries will begin June 14th through 21st. We hope that you'll consider joining our league. We are open to men and women, age 18 and older, with reduced membership rates for students 16 and older. There are many opportunities for you to be involved. I'd like to mention one in particular. We are organizing a forum like this one for Board of Education candidates. Our candidates tonight talked about members of the Board of Education and the fact that you will be voting for the first time for members. For your district, on May 17th, we will be hosting a candidate forum at the Wise Avenue Firehouse at 7 p.m. I would like to remind you that we've asked candidates tonight to remain for a few more minutes to speak with you at the rear of the auditorium if they can, and their materials are available on tables in the back of the room. We do need to vacate the building by 9, and we ask you to drive safely. Thanks so much for being here. Good night.
On affiliates. So how do you think Pat did?
Great. I thought he did fantastic.
Oh, I don't think he
hit
could.
the issues out of the park.
I don't think he could have done any better, really. You know, he nailed it.
He did. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
There's not an easy URL for me to tell you because I don't have
Hi, Rick. So we're live streaming right now. So how do you think Pat did?
I think he did fantastic. I think they covered a lot of material, and let's see what happens in the primary.
Absolutely. So it's good to see you here tonight.
Thank
How'd you enjoy the debate?
I thought it was wonderful.
I thought you did great.
I'll make sure that's there.
Okay, and we'll come to you. How did you think Pat did tonight?
Pat did a fantastic job. I love the ending, how he was so passionate.
He got people fired up tonight, that's for sure. So
He was fired up tonight.
I think he blew Al Redmer away.
I do too.
So we need those voters to come out and vote for Pat Mcdonough so we can turn Baltimore County around.
Early voting is when, May 17th?
It's shared on here. I don't really exactly know the exact dates. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Early voting is May